What's going on, everyone? Ver here. So the other day I was watching Tiger King while browsing my phone. I happened to pull up my student loans and I noticed that all my loans had 0% interest on them. And I was like, huh, I guess it actually happened because a few weeks ago, I actually emailed my loan servicer to see if the talks about 0% interest on our loans would actually happen. I never got any answers back. Lo and behold, I saw that interest rates were at zero, and I also looked online, like I was seeing it all over Facebook, that the new CARES Act actually included that in the 800 plus page bill. From there, the next thing I did was like what anyone else would do. I posted a survey on Instagram that asked, should I pay off my loans as soon as possible, or should I pay the minimum? With all that said in mind, if you don't mind how scruffy I look right now, my haircut, my facial hair, let's get into the video. Now let's do a quick breakdown on 0% interest on our student loans. With the signing of the CARES Act due to the global illness that's been going on for the last few months, one of the points that's worth mentioning is federal student loans now have a 0% interest rate, and payments are also suspended until the end of September. This is actually pretty good because the average amount of student debt individuals come out of college are around $30,000. I actually graduated from school around 6 years ago, so I had about that amount, $30,000. Over time with interest, I'd probably be paying around 40 to 45K. This provides relief to the ones who are looking in the job market who recently lost their job due to what's going on with the economy, or any other hardships that may have been a product of what's going on. What does this actually mean for the student loans that people have? This gives the option for individuals with student loans to not pay their loans until the end of September. Keep in mind, these are federal student loans. This means individuals with student loans have the option to not pay their loans with no fear of any late fees or penalties until the end of September. However, remember this is for federal student loans. Private loans are not exempt due to this. Another point mentioned is that there's no interest accrued during this time. So this is what I noticed when I looked on my student loans, that the interest rates were zero. Typically when I look at each loan, there's a specific number that's related to the interest rate on that specific loan, either subsidized or unsubsidized. From this point on to the end of September, there will be no interest accrued on your loans. However, again, this only applies to federal student loans. That's the key thing to remember here. Another point that I noticed is student loan debt collection will be halted. What this means is any wages, tax refunds, or Social Security benefits will not be garnished to pay for your student loans. Previously, before this bill was signed, it was 60 days waived. Now, I had to look this up. I didn't know what garnished meant at first, but essentially what it means is an employer or anybody that pays you will have to withhold any portion of your income to pay towards your student loans if there is a court order on it. This might not apply to you, but if it does, just know defaults are not forgotten. They're just waived for this portion of time. Another thing that I didn't think about when I was reading this that I noticed is pausing your payments will not have any effect on your student loan forgiveness programs. Now, I know a couple of my friends are on student loan forgiveness programs or income-based programs where they pay a certain amount, and if they meet X amount of payments, their student loans will be forgiven. Typically, this is done in the public sector or through any other programs, not directly with your lender. So given this new information, if you're in the boat with student loans, what does that mean you should do? Here's some of the things that came to mind when I found out about this new information. The first thing that I would do is pay off your high interest debt. So I'm talking about consumer debt, credit card debt, any debt that holds interest above 10 to 15%. If you carry a balance on those, the interest will accrue at a faster rate than 0%. If you have the option to where you don't need to pay as much on your student loans, I would take the difference of that and put them towards your high interest debt. Paying down that debt is a better use of your money at this point in time, especially since the rate of your student loans is down to zero. Along with paying down your credit card debt, I would also try to minimize the amount of purchases that you put on credit line. The next thing I would do during this time, since there's zero interest on your loans and payments are suspended, is to build up an emergency fund if you haven't already done so. What an emergency fund, from my definition or my understanding, is saving about 3 to 6 months worth of payments that covers your essential spending. Your essential spending could include things like your mortgage or rent, your minimum amount of food, essentially the minimum amount for you to be able to live. You can keep it in your checking account. My suggestion is putting it into a high yield savings account because it's not money that you need directly right now, but at least it would be easily accessible within a few business days to take care of any emergency that would come up. The last thing that I would do if you have your credit card debt in line and you also have an emergency fund all good to go. If you're minimizing your spending, and since we're not going out at all during this time, the next best thing would be to invest in the market. What I'm trying to get at here is if you're able to say that you don't have any credit card debt, you have an emergency fund, anything excess of that, you can either put onto your emergency fund, in the off chance that you lose your job or anything happens. But anything excess of that, you should feel safe putting it back into the market. So the Instagram post that I put on asked if I should pay down my student loans as soon as possible or pay the minimum. So I noticed the majority of people, around 70 to 75%, said pay off your student loans as soon as possible. There was a minority of about 20 to 25% that said the opposite of only paying the minimum. Paying the minimum or just suspending payments altogether could be lumped into the same thing, but majority of the people thought pay them off ASAP. Some of the pros that I look at if you were to pay off your loans as soon as possible are any payments that go to your loans right now go strictly to principal. None of it is going towards interest, and essentially you're bringing down the amount of loans that you have. And by the time that September 30th comes around, if there's a lower principal on your loans, there's less interest that's going to be accrued starting at that point moving on. The cool thing is if all payments are going towards your principal, if you don't have any loans by the time end of September comes, you just have no more loans and you save that much money in the long run. On the other side of that, you have paying the minimum or suspending payments until September 1st. The pros to that are any payments that you do, if it is just a minimum, still go to the principal of the loans. Another thing is if you're not paying anything, there's no interest going to be accrued either because of the 0% interest. By the time the period ends on September 30th and interest kicks back in, you will hopefully have more cash on hand than you would have otherwise because you weren't making those payments to your loans directly for about 6 months. One of the things that I got direct messaged on Instagram was the potential for loan forgiveness. I can't predict the future, but I do know some people in Washington are talking about loan forgiveness. However, I would not bank on this. So if you follow the steps earlier about credit card debt, saving your emergency fund, and investing, that's probably the safest bet in this time.
In the end, which of these options is the correct answer?
Honestly, it just depends. If you find it better psychology for yourself to pay down your loans by the end of this 6-month period where you don't have any loans or your amount is less, that's great. Go ahead and do that. However, if you've lost income, if you were negatively affected by this global illness to where you need that relief of not paying that money and you need that extra money to cover your essential spending, be able to live, be able to buy food, be able to buy TP, that is what it's there for. If you are an individual with student loan debt has this huge weight on our shoulders. Take the time to, use the relief, put the money towards something else. Just don't go out and spend that money frivolously if it's something that you can refrain from. Saying it again, credit card debt is probably the debt you should tackle first because credit cards are still accruing interest regardless of what's going on. The reason why it makes sense to pay off your credit card debt instead of your student loans is because if you have 0 interest and then you have 15 to 20% on your credit cards, the amount that's on your credit cards will grow a lot faster than your student loans not growing at all. You only have 6 months, but it's better use of your money to pay off your credit card loans because that money is growing at a rate a lot faster than your student loans. And then if you don't already have an emergency fund, like I said, that is probably the best time to build that up if you don't already have one, because again, we do not know how long this is going to take. So the survey that I posted was for me to get an understanding of what other people are thinking around this part of the CARES Act. So here's my current situation. I'm working from home and I'm fortunate enough to be still employed by my employer. Here are the things that I will do given all this information. I'm going to continue paying the minimum amount on my student loans, or I might even suspend payments until September 30th, because that will give me the ability to take care of my high interest debt. I pay off my credit card debt in full every month. So then after that, I can definitely build up an emergency fund, which I already have 3 to 6 months already set away in a high yield savings account. But during this time, it might be in my interest to put more buffer on that for an extra month or two. After that, I'm going to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm because I haven't done that yet, and if you haven't, you should too. Jokes aside, the thing that I want to focus on is making sure to keep my line of employment. After that, I think I'll do what I can to establish more income streams, whether it's finding a part-time job or building out this YouTube channel. And after that, I'll keep following the principles that I talk about on this channel, and that would be investing in the market. The reason why I'm choosing to invest in the market at a time like this is because if we have a period of time where interest rates are 0% on debt that you already have, you can use that extra money to put into something else to grow at a greater rate of return. Some would argue paying down your principal on your student loans will also help you out by the time that interest rates come back. You know, it's honestly your preference. By no means am I telling you what to do in result of this. Essentially, what I was trying to do is get an idea of what people thought about the zero interest rate and suspended payments on student loan debt. So with that said, thanks for everyone for voting on the Instagram story. If you personally have student loan debt, comment down below how you are going to respond to this opportunity. Whether it's you're going to pay off your loans aggressively or you're going to pay the minimum or not pay at all until the end of September. I'd love to hear what you have to share. Again, this is just what I plan to do until the end of September. If anything happens between now and then, maybe my decision will change, but given the information that we do now, I still want to meet the goal of paying off my student loans this year because I set that as a goal at the beginning of the year. That might change given this information. Honestly, we don't know. Again, thanks so much for watching the video. If you haven't already, please smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring the little notification bell so you know the next time I post a video on this channel. If you like the content, it really helps the channel out a lot. You can also find me on Instagram. I post there pretty much every day, whether it's another survey to create another video like this or, what I'm cooking. Sometimes I'll go live. I noticed that going live is really cool. You go on live, you say, hey, what's up? And people chat at you, give you little hearts, whatever. If I go live, hit me up on there. Here's my handle. Also, if you want to get started on investing, I posted a link down in the description below to Webull, where if you deposit $100, you could get up to 2 free stocks, where one of them is worth up to $1,400. With that said, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.